Gert is labeled as having a severe developmental disability. She's been warehoused for most of her life in institutional and community rehabilitation programs. Her involvement in a progressive supported employment has given Gert an opportunity to explore new experiences that the rest of society enjoys every day. During the next few minutes, you'll meet John, Ann, Lou, Gert, Dwight, David, and Tim, along with some of the people in their lives. Once confined to segregated settings, they've now become active participants in their communities. Unlike before, new opportunities are leading to meaningful relationships, increased self-esteem, and valued employment. Although the data on supported employment emphasizes wages and long-term support, its true value is in what you don't often hear about: individual outcomes.
Gert and I met each other about 3 years ago, and I've been really lucky. I met Gert when she first moved to this area, when she first started going out in the community, and she used to work in a place that was very segregated and closed off from the rest of the world, and was really not very happy in that situation, and often expressed that she wasn't very happy, and it was hard for her to form relationships. And over the past year or so, Gert being out and about, she's really gotten to know some people. She's much more comfortable in those situations. About 2 weeks ago, we went out for lunch one day, and we were having lunch, we were leaving, and I heard these people calling over to the table, and I thought they were talking to me. But it was a group of waitresses from a local restaurant that were calling Gert over to the table to say hi. And she was just really excited to feel like somebody there knew her and wanted to talk to her, and that she really fit into the community.
Supported employment has been defined as paid work in integrated settings with ongoing support for persons with severe disabilities who would otherwise not be able to work.
I think that the most important elements of supported employment when it's really working are that the job is individualized, that the individual person is taken into account. Who is this person? What do they love to do? What are they good at? What would really make their life goals attainable for them? And that the supports are flexible. We don't have one way of doing this. Some people would tell you that there's only one approach to supported employment, or there are only 4 delicious flavors. If you're not doing it one of these 4 ways, it isn't supported employment. There are as many ways to do this as there are people to provide support to, so it needs to be flexible. So supported employment is a way to start to re-include people, to give people their place in the community that they deserve, just like everybody else.
Networking is a very important component within supported employment. Programs that are going to be successful working with people with severe disabilities are going to have to use informal networks to develop job opportunities. A person with a severe disability is not going to be able to go into an employer and present themselves well and access a job. Therefore, we have to begin to use our natural networks within the community. Staff people who have relatives, friends, neighbors, etc., who can help them understand and develop opportunities within their local community have to take advantage of those. We have to feel confident in the abilities of our people with severe disabilities to be successful. And the only way to do that is to sometimes take a chance and take a risk and extend yourselves beyond what is normally the professional limits within the scope of our jobs. For Patty, that was talking to Steve, a good friend of hers, about a job for Dwight.
Having known Patty for the length of time I have, and knowing what she does for work and talking to her and things like that, has made me more aware that, you know, there are autistic people out there that need work and need help. I want to give back. I've taken a lot, and I want to give some things back. And if I can do that with him, you know, that's one part of giving things back. In the beginning, you know, I like to get him, it's labor, you know, it's flat out labor. Would be, you know, putting fish in a fish basket, and then they're hauled out of the fish hole, and then they're loaded, you know, onto the dock, and he would be in the hole, and then, you know, if that worked out, I believe, you know, he could get to other boats here. I mean, he can come down here and work for 4 hours and pick up 50, 60 bucks quite easily. And if he does 3 or 4 boats in a day, if he does get other boats through this, he can start making, you know, 150, 200 bucks in a day easily. So it's the potential's there for him to actually make some real money.
This supported employment program is set up a little differently, where the staff people have a lot more, their hands on a lot more things than in some programs where people are involved in marketing and being out with people all day long, really getting to know folks and what they want to do. And being in those situations, the staff are able to better judge what will be a successful situation for someone, whether it's in a job or in a community setting.
We're a Morgan primarily breeding and show farm. And we have our own trainer and assistant trainer, and we show mostly all Morgan competition. We stand 4 stallions, and we do semen transport. We have our own laboratory, and we hire a lot of young people to help take care of the horses. And Donna called us up, and that's how we first met Lou, because she called up to see if we would have any chance of trying him out to work here. Donna was into Morgans, and I knew her aunt and had met her years ago when Donna was showing Morgans. That's how we knew her. When Donna called us, she said that Lou had grown up on a farm, and she thought that he might be very interested in being around the horses and feel more comfortable. So when she said she'd like to come and give him a try, we said fine.
Lou is still learning the basics of cleaning the stalls and bedding them. As he gets more comfortable with it, we will incorporate removing cobwebs, sweeping the aisles, and watering basic barn work. And as he gets more comfortable with the job and with working around the animals, I'm hopeful that it may evolve eventually into possibly handling the horses as well. He's also very enthusiastic. He likes what he's doing. He likes the people, he likes the barn, and he likes the chance to be around the horses.
Supported employment is an inclusive concept because it includes families, it includes people with disabilities, it includes employers, it includes neighbors in some cases, it includes communities in the process of finding people jobs and helping people keep jobs.
As pointed out in the case of Lou and Dwight, it takes unique relationships to develop and maintain jobs for people with severe disabilities. John and Ann, following years in institutions, were rejected for sheltered workshops until a new supported employment program recognized their potential. They now split a job at Burger King. John works the morning shift and Ann the afternoon. Supported employment has given them the opportunity to become truly working members of the community, holding real jobs and earning well above minimum wages. John and Ann have developed powerful relationships with their co-workers, and their presence has had a major impact on both workers and customers at Burger King.
The way in which businesses and industries change because somebody with a disability is working there can't be fully described. I can't tell you what it is. All I can tell you is that when we talk to coworkers and employers, they say there's something fundamentally different about this place because this person is here. And we know it's positive, and we want it to keep happening.
Well, I was first introduced to Ann and John probably about a year ago. And my first impression was whether or not they were really going to be able to handle the job or not. I felt with their handicaps, they may not be able to keep up and do the job the way, as adequate as it should have been done. And they've really surprised me. They're doing an excellent job.
I think the thing that motivates Burger King to maintain John and Annie as employees are their reliability, their steady pace, dependability, I think, is probably the main thing. I have some very nice stories about John and Ann. One was, it turned out to be a positive, but it started out as a negative. We had a customer who seemed to be uncomfortable with the fact that we had John and Annie working here, came and complained to us. And of course, our response to them was, John and Annie are part of our crew as anyone else that you see in the store in a Burger King uniform. And we enjoy having them here as our crew. And I'm sorry, if you don't care to eat here, then that's your privilege. But they are our crew. They're part of our crew. We had a salesman from another part of the state that came here probably 3 to 4 times a week to eat lunch. And he took me aside one day and said, I go out of my way to come to this particular Burger King here in Portsmouth because of the fact that you have hired John and Annie and they're working here, and I just want you to know that that's why I come to this Burger King. I've seen a tremendous change. As I said, they've been here just about a year. One of the changes that's so evident is their independence now. They know how to do things. They've taken it upon themselves, both John and Annie, to say if they're cleaning tables, they don't need someone to show them how to do it now. Or if they're straightening up the dining room, sweeping, empty trash, that sort of thing. There's someone constantly over their shoulder. They can do this on their own. They can clean trays and deliver them to the front counter, ready to be used for the customer.
Supported employment has opened up a tremendous amount of opportunities we never would have thought about several years ago. But by the same token, families have to be able to give up some of the controls that they always thought were important in their developmentally disabled son or daughter's life, that in fact with more choices becomes more chance. And I think that where he's not very verbal, there's always the fear of what happens out in the public. But I have to firmly believe that he is better protected by the common man than he is by being in with half a dozen other relatively nonverbal people with autism. It's been interesting to watch not only my son, but to hear some stories from other families about what a real job and real pay have done for the self-esteem of their sons and daughters. And I've certainly seen that in terms of my son, who much prefers his structured job to the school environment that he was leaving. He couldn't wait to be out and just doing the job. I feel because of that new feeling of pride, the family even begins to look at that person as more normal. That I think families have been taught to look at the failings of our sons or daughters rather than their strengths.
We still are spending so much of our time talking about, is supported employment a good thing, that we haven't even asked the better question, which is, why is it working for this person? Who made it happen? Why did it happen? And what can we learn from this one experience? And when we get to that point where we're looking at individual examples, rather than trying to make huge generalizations, I think we'll move closer to a better understanding of how we can assist people and to work.
A sense of belonging was a major factor in David's job success.
David's self-esteem, I've seen it escalate to a much higher level, and his belief in himself as an individual has risen a lot since he's been here. I feel that he actually improves on morale because he's always in a good mood, always. If we're having a bad day, David always says something to make us feel to help us feel a little bit better. So he's a good, positive catalyst for all of us here in the store, I believe. Sam used to come in before the store opened, and she'd stay with David for a couple of hours, sometimes until about 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. And she would go through David's procedures with him, the carts, the trash, and the restocking of supplies. Anything that was repetitive, but that is repetitive with David, he does very, very well. So she took him out back, showed him where all the supplies were, and showed him how many carts he could handle at one time, the placement of all of these items. And once he got to know his routine, she started leaving him for periods of time during the day. And that's what made him self-sufficient to the point where he doesn't need anybody here now unless it's to learn a new task. A few weeks back, we've hired a full-time stock boy here, so David's responsibilities have changed a little, and we didn't want him to lose a feeling of his being needed here, so we started teaching him different little things. And a few weeks back, I had him on the back of the jean wall in the men's department, and I taught him how to fold some jeans, which he caught on to very, very quickly. His problem with that was that it's all cubed. He was having difficulty on how to put the jeans back in once he took them out. So I took a pair of red socks, and I gave them to Dave, and I told him as soon as he pulled a pair of jeans out of the cube to put the red socks back in again. And that did the trick. That did the trick. He'd take the jeans out, put the red socks in, get down, fold the jeans, take the socks out, put the jeans back in again. And it worked very, very well, because we gave him some association. And David is a human being who belongs here and should be allowed the freedom of feeling that he is a productive individual, which he certainly is.
Naturally, I'm proud of David. We never ever realized that it would come to this conclusion. And before he went into this program, my wife and I were very apprehensive. In fact, I was in Portland Sunday, and I have a cousin that has a retarded son, and they're worried about what's going to happen to him when something happens to them. And I was telling him about David and what, he's doing, and they thought that he was so lucky, to be into such a program as this, and they were very reluctant to let their kid go to any place. Now they're stuck with the whole situation, and they're getting older, and they are wondering what to do with them. Well, the change has been fantastic, really. David has developed a new vocabulary. I mean, he can talk more intelligently than he used to be able to talk, and he has the words, which is very, very gratifying to me, and naturally he gets that from his association with his peers. Well, I first met the staff of Bradley's at a Christmas party that had done in January, and David was there. And David sat with me, and all the people came over and shook hands with David. They were so happy to see him there, and David always talks about me when he's, and it was rather exciting, and I really enjoyed it. I figured that the people out to Bradley's like him, and to me, that's important.
Well, I work at Bradley's, and I I do the cards and do the rows, and then when I'm all done with that, I help fold toes. I feel very proud of myself.